What's up? How y'all doing? It's Jared. This is probably the best $14 I've ever spent in my life. I have been thoroughly impressed with this knife. This is a Tachyon 3 kind of rip-off trainer from Ranacc knives. I bought it on Amazon, paid $14 for it. It's Ranacc. And zinc, it's got zinc handles on it, and it's kind of fallen. It's not really falling apart, but there's problems with it when I'll show you when I actually get down onto the table. But as far as just an overall flipper, you know what I mean? As far as just a generally, what am I trying to do? Just a general good toy, you know what I mean? A good fidget toy. This thing is excellent because I think they got lucky, and again, I'll get into that, but I think that this overall design with the zinc handles and the weight that it has, the weight distribution that it has because of the materials that they used to fit that $14 price point, I think they got lucky. I think that they actually scored pretty well with this thing. I'm definitely a fan of it. Again, take most of what I say about flipping with a grain of salt because I am obviously not the best flipper. And I'm not a good flipper. I'm not actually a flipper. I'm just kind of a balisong enthusiast. But I wanted to show you a little bit of this thing actually moving around in the air. I'm definitely a fan of it. It floats just excellent. I took this thing out of the box, and some of the features that it has, and just as well as it moved. I mean, it had basically zero handle play, which was excellent out of the box. There's a little bit developing right now. I'll get into that in a minute, but I definitely am a big fan of just playing with this thing. I've beat it up. It's been through a decent amount. Ranacc knives. Right, this is obviously a ripoff of the Tachyon 3 from Microtech. This is a Microtech Tachyon 3 Stormtrooper, and they obviously ripped off the design. I mean, and there was actually a trainer model put out by Microtech specifically, and I think this blade shape is a little bit reminiscent of that. And so this is kind of just a ripoff of the Microtech trainer in itself, right? But because the handles are actually made out of zinc, you know what I mean? And they went with the exact size, almost, you know what I mean? It's, basically the exact same size here. And just the weight distribution that gives over a lot of other balisongs, you know what I mean? Because this is just another zinc-handled trainer right here. Or not, it's live blade, zinc-handled, cheaper balisong. And it's just not quite weighted the same way. It doesn't carry the same amount of momentum. That and the fact that they've actually given you, or they've given you whatever, you know what I mean? They're using adjustable pivots, right? Because this thing's got some crazy blade play in it right now, even though it was tight when I started this video, right? Tighten that up a little bit. You can see that it's still free floating, you know what I mean? This thing moves really well, and that's the handle play, you know? And so I can keep adjusting it as this metal bends and as this zinc here actually takes a beating like it does, you know what I mean? Gives you this crazy floppiness. You can still adjust it. I can still actually pull that in, which I really like. This spring latch is cool as well because you can't do anything about the tang cups. These tang cups are being beaten around. You can see just the amount of dent that's in that zinc right there, and it's the same thing on the other side. You know what I mean? And you can see how deep that is, right? And so actually in the closed position, I can still latch this thing closed because it's got this little adjustable mechanism, which is kind of done really well because it's got a little stop screw, right? And I don't know if I can actually do this, but I can take this screw out, right? And lock it. You can see this. It'll pull out, and so you can lock this nut in place, right? Which is really dope. Like that's a cool little design. That's not original, you know what I mean? They did steal that from another balisong, but you can see the amount that it's losing already. So being able to adjust this little nut down and still have it lock up is just really excellent on, again, I paid $14 for this thing. It does have a spring latch, but you can see the actual latch there is a little bit canted. It's been bent over a little bit. There is a lot of deformation to just the metal itself, you know what I mean? The finish is copper finish here. It's not made out of copper. It is just it is a zinc alloy handle. It's just got a really good look to it, actually. I do like the finish that's on there. And the design of the Tachyon 3 is, I think, this pains me to say it. This honestly pains me to say it, but I think this thing in prime condition, 100% up and running, probably flips better than the original Tachyon, just because the weight that these handles have, it's got aluminum handles on the original. This is going to take a beating. This is going to fall apart. Don't get me wrong. It's not a better knife. It just, I think, probably may flip better, in my opinion. The Tachyon, you're going to be able to beat up and drop it on concrete, whatever, it's going to be able to handle it. You can already see the amount of deformation and dings and dents and how soft this actual material is. I took a chunk out of the side of it. So it's not going to hold up for a very long time. This is a piece of a Bear Ops. It's the only piece that I could find of this knife here, but this is a really common occurrence with this channel handle, channel constructed zinc. This has a little bit more of a chance due to the fact that it doesn't have these holes actually cut out into it. It is a solid piece, so it can probably take a little bit more of a beating, but the actual adjustability in that, is going to keep it straight. It's not going to allow it to have too much actual play and just be beat up too much over time. So I do think that this is going to last a little bit longer in that respect, but I still don't have high hopes of the longevity of it. And the latch actually works well now, but every time I drop this thing on this handle here, it closes in and the latch will actually stall up. It stalls up and I can't, and so I'll just stick a tool in there or whatever it may be, something, just get it in there and wiggle it around and actually pull these slabs back open, or this little end of the handle here back open, so that the latch will refit into it. But for all of the features that you get, the flippability of this thing with the adjustable latch, the adjustable pivots for $14, and as much fun as I've had with it, I'm definitely a fan. When I picked this thing up, took it out of the box, I bought it off of Amazon. Excuse me. Took it out of the box. I was walking around that day with it, and when I got home that night, I actually ordered the trainer version of this. I've got the trainer version, the Benchmade 42, Benchmade Model 42 from the same company, Ranacc Knives, because I'm really impressed with what they did with this thing. I want to see what they're going to do with the other one. And I've got a few trainers. I've actually ordered a whole bunch of them off of Amazon. I don't quite know what this thing is. It's a SEMA, I think, is what that is. Teeny little thing. And I actually managed to pick one of these things up. I don't quite know what to call this, but there's a whole lot of these things floating around, and it's definitely a lot of fun. It's a strange kind of thing, but yeah. Well, and a lot of replicant. And this is some serious shit. Yeah, I'm doing a video on that one. That's it. Honestly, don't know. Sorry about that. I couldn't find what I did with the knife. Y'all have a good one. Trainer.